Hey guys, welcome back. If this is your first time here, I'm Neil, the Adventurous Investor, and on this channel I talk all things investing, business, finance, personal finance, and anything in that sort of nature. If you could smash that like button, it'd be much appreciated, and if you would like to see some more videos like this, then hit the subscribe button and you'll be the first to know when the next video drops. Alright guys, let's crack into today's topic. Today I want to talk about investing advice if you're just starting out and you're in your 20s and you're a bit unsure on what you want to do with your your money, and you think it's a good idea to invest it, then this video is for you. Some of these things I did when I was in my 20s, and they've helped dramatically over my investing life. Some of these things I didn't do, and some of these things I wish I'd done from an earlier age, which I'll go into more detail as I go on. And also another thing is, like, anyone can start investing, okay? You don't have to be a doctor or an engineer or a lawyer earning colossal amounts of money from your job to start investing. I mean, I spent most of my 20s, I was traveling the world. I had some great jobs, but they were not high-paying jobs. Let's say I was working as a snowboard instructor or raft guiding. I did 3 summers raft guiding. And yeah, I still managed to save a lot of that money that I was earning from these jobs I had along the way. And I was always watching how much money I was spending. I mean, I was living in backpackers, I was living in a tent, I was living for as cheap as I possibly could throughout my 20s basically. And I was trying to work for places, you know, even where I just would do a little bit of work for room and board, let's say. But there's so many different ways you can sort of, you know, save a bit of money along the way. Which brings me on to my first point, is you need to reduce your outgoings, okay? Whether that means you have to live with 10 other mates in a 3-bedroom house and you're all sort of bunked in together, then that's just what you got to do, okay, to start saving your money. Also, you don't have to drive around in the latest car, or you know, you can drive around in a 500-year-old Dunger just cruising about, gets you from A to B. Hopefully it's safe enough to get you where you need to be. It's good character building stuff too, you know, getting used to having your car breaking down on the side of the road. So don't be afraid to you know, drive around in an old Dunger. No one really cares. I mean, if your friends care what car you're driving, then maybe they shouldn't be your friends. So yeah, don't get sort of wrapped around, I've got to have the best car when I'm 20. You don't. You get away with anything. And especially in 20s, you can get away with, you know, with a lot more stuff. Obviously, you might not have a mortgage, you probably won't have kids. These sort of commitments that you have when you're in your 30s and 40s, which will take up a lot of your time and income and that sort of thing. In your 20s, you don't have as much of those commitments, you know. You have maybe some job, it takes up 8 hours a day, and the rest of your time is pretty much free to do what you want. So, don't waste that, okay? Definitely do some things to not waste that valuable time that you have. It's our most precious resource, is our time. So don't just fritter that away doing bullshit stuff. So yeah, reduce your outgoings, okay? So that's my number one tip. You've reduced your outgoings. Secondly, what I would do is, so now that you've reduced your outgoings, hopefully you should start having a bit of money left over at the end of the day, okay? Start putting this money into a high interest account, okay? Go down to your local bank, whoever you're currently banking with, and open up a high interest account. At the moment, you're going to be hard pushed to find a good high interest account, but try and get something that gives you that 1.5%, 2% sort of interest. And be careful, because a lot of them have these sort of things around them where, like, you have to make a minimum payment of $100 a month or $1,000 a month in order to get their high interest, or they'll give you basically no interest. So make sure you sort of read over the fine print there, or get the lady to talk it through on the when you're going down to open the account. And then I would start funneling as much money as you can into this. Obviously start small, something that you can know that you can happily achieve without, you know, being able to still afford food for your week. Start with something like 5 or 10% of your weekly paycheck. Just start putting it in there, and then once you get, oh, I've still got a bit of money left over, then put 20%, then put 30%. Obviously the more that you can put into this account every week, the better off you'll be, okay? Even if it's only, let's say, $100 a week, by the end of the year that's $5,200 just sitting there. And then once you've started to build that up, then you'll be able to start thinking about, okay, what can I start doing with this money now that you're starting to build yourself a little fund. So here's where you start thinking, okay, what do I want to start investing in? Whether it be stocks or property or whatever it may be, start doing a bit of research and start learning about this sort of thing. I mean, everything I've learned about investing has all just been from reading books, listening to podcasts, talking to other investors, and that sort of thing. I mean, I didn't go to uni, I didn't study business at uni or finance. I mean, I'm currently studying at the moment, but I never, you know, went to uni to study investing or anything. And they don't teach this sort of stuff in school. They'll teach you algebra, which you'd never use, well, I've never used since leaving school. You may use it on a daily, I don't know. I personally don't use algebra, never use it, probably never will. So you'll have to start taking an interest in what you want to start investing. Obviously, the sooner you start to this, the better off you'll be as well. If you can start doing this in your 20s, then you think, okay, cool, you'll start creating better money habits, which will be so beneficial over your working life and just over your general life as a whole, rather than trying to get a handle on this when you're in your 30s or 40s, when, like I said, you've got other commitments, you've got marriages, you've got mortgages, you've got kids, you've got all sorts of other day-to-day stuff that sort of gets put on the back foot a little bit. So the more you can sort of start focusing on it now, the better off you'll be. And this is something that I didn't do in my 20s, but I would start investing in index funds, okay, which are basically buying the entire stock market rather than going out and buying one particular company within the stock market or something like this. Obviously, you would already be doing this through your super or your KiwiSave. What I would do outside of that, I would start investing in, like I said, into index funds, okay? With index funds, you're buying the entire stock market. You're not just buying one particular company, so you've got a lot less risk. Whereas when I was 18 years of age, I went down to a local stockbroker and said, look, I want to start investing. He's like, great. He recommended a few companies. I had a quick look over the paperwork, sounded good. I think I gave him, it was $10,000 all up, started me off. I think I bought maybe 4 or 5 different companies. I held those companies for about 10 years, give or take. Some did all right, some didn't do so great. But I would have been a lot better off to buy an index fund or a managed fund or something like that that brought the entire market rather than just putting all my money in those 5 particular companies, okay? This is something I wish I'd done from a younger age. I have started investing in index funds, but only over the last, about 3 or 4 years. This is outside of my super and outside of my KiwiSaver and whatnot. So yeah, this is something I would have started when I was a lot younger. So do some research around that, and just like I said, you know, now that you've got that money going into your high interest account, start funneling that into your index funds, okay? You know, even if it's only $100 a month or $500 a month, or do it quarterly or whatever you do, but just get into this habit. And this is something you buy and hold, you set and forget, you never touch it, it just keeps going in there. And then over time, you're going to be riding up with the general momentum of the market, okay? Don't try and time the market, it's time in the market. I know it's a very cliche saying, but it's very true and it's very important. And generally, most people can't beat the stock market, okay? Warren Buffett, he's one of the best in the game. He says, you know, it's very hard to beat the stock market. Even he struggles. He has had incredible wealth created through the stock market over his life, but he's an exceptional, good investor who invests long term, and he invests in companies that he understands, and he spends nearly 5-6 hours every day reading about these companies that he invests. Unless you're willing to put that sort of time in, I would not muck around with it. I would just put your money into index funds and sort of knock off and forget about it, and just keep that sort of ticking over in behind in the background. Especially if you can start this when you're 20 years of age. By the time you're 30, you've had 10 years of compounding interest on that, and that'll just keep going. If you don't know about compounding interest, check out my other video on compounding interest. I go into more detail on the power of compounding interest, so definitely check that out if you don't understand compounding interest. And those are my top tips, okay guys, on, you know, starting out in your investing journey in your early 20s. If you enjoyed that, guys, like I said before, smash that like button, it'd be much appreciated. It helps the algorithm find my videos. And if you want to see some more videos like this, hit the subscribe button below and you'll be the first to know when the next video drops. Alright guys, enjoy the rest of your day. Cheers.